Good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar, Keep Clients Engaged, Showcasing Skills Using MicroCredentials. My name is Greg Lockwood and I'm Stakeholder Coordinator at the BC Centre for Employment Excellence. For those of you not familiar with the Centre, it was created in 2012 with funding from the provincial and federal governments to act as a research and knowledge sharing organization for BC employment service providers and employers. The Centre's mandate is not only to do innovative research, but also to find ways to share best practices with BC practitioners and employers and better integrate evidence into practice. We created this webinar series as a way to reach out and connect with practitioners. And through this series, we have highlighted new research by the Centre, but are also tapping into the knowledge and expertise within the employment services community. You are invited to view the video recordings of previous webinars that we have posted on our website. Today's webinar explores how micro-credential badges can help learners to show what they know and can do. They are a new way to capture and communicate what an individual knows and can demonstrate, and they represent more specific skills or achievements than most credentials issued in formal education systems. To tell us more about micro-credentials, we are thrilled to welcome Diana Twiss. Diana is the Director of Adult and Workplace Learning at Dakota Literacy Solutions. Having worked in adult literacy since 1993, she helps businesses, government departments, and community groups to create successful training programs and a vision for sustainability by examining approaches to workplace learning and engaging in research and literacy reviews. Diana has been the Director of Literacy Development at CfEEBC and is also a faculty member in the Community Development and Outreach Department at Capilano University. And now I will pass the microphone over to our presenter, Diana.
Hello, everyone. There we are. So thank you very much for that wonderful introduction. And so this is what we're going to talk about today. As we said, it's called Keeping Clients Engaged, Showcase Skills Using Micro-Credentials. And you also see that word digital badges in the bottom right-hand corner. So I'm going to talk about sort of how those two things intertwine, how they overlap. So this is our new logo. We're quite proud of this. This is and so you're one of the first groups to see the Dakota digital badge logo. And what we are pretty excited about is the kind of the movement in this badge. You see that it's a whole series of these hexagons, which we think just shows the potential of how you can grow with digital badges. So this is the kind of thing that I want to talk about today. So here are the topics. We're going to talk about what a micro-credential is and what its relationship to a digital badge is, so we can kind of set that stage. We're going to explore through this webinar how this tool can be used, how these sort of techniques of micro-credentials and digital badges can be a little bit of a tool to keep people engaged, particularly people who are multi-barriered or who haven't experienced a lot of success in the learning sphere. We also want to sort of figure out at some point how this can possibly enhance our clients' employability, and also look at ways that our digital badges and our micro-credentials work with specialized population groups, ESL, youth, disabled, Aboriginal clients, and so on and so forth. And also, as always, if you have any questions along the way or questions at the end, please do not hesitate to raise them. And I think there's they type them in. Greg, is that how they do that?
Yeah, that's right, Diana. So all along the presentation, we have a pretty intimate group today, so feel free to send your questions in, and depending on the question, we might take a moment to pause, or we'll try to address it at the end of the webinar.
Okay. And so don't hesitate to ask a question along the way, because I don't want to make assumptions that you know something and be crashing into the next thing and have people just really need that one little thing answered. So I'm going to go back to that previous. Okay. So micro-credentials, this is when you start doing research on digital badges and micro-credentials, you see that these things are kind of used interchangeably. But micro-credentials are exactly as you would imagine. It is a credential that is sort of broken into pieces so that you can see the smaller pieces of what that credential is. When you think about something like a grade 12, the Dogwood diploma, or you think about a Bachelor of Arts degree, that's a huge credential. Like that represents 4 or 5 years of study, and there's dozens of courses that are packed in that. But you know, what does that mean in a very specific sense? Like it tells us that someone has achieved this huge piece of learning so that they have a particular commitment to learning, and they obviously have a particular set of skills in order to get that. But it doesn't tell us anything specifically. And this is where micro-credentials are really starting to change the way we talk about people's achievement and starting to change the look of how we put ourselves forward in the for employability in our resumes and so on. So a micro-credential could take a piece of our learning and could show more specifically something that you have or that you're able to do. And so it has enormous potential in giving employers or giving other institutions of higher learning a more specific sense of what that person's background is. And the digital badges are essentially that micro-credential, that smaller piece that is put into a digital format that allows it to be collected and shared. So here is a piece, and it's a little bit blurry, and it's because I did a cut and copy from our new, this is a new infographic that we're developing. So not only do you get a little snapshot of our new digital badge logo, but you see the couple of the new little segments of our digital, of our infographic for digital badges, because they're kind of tricky things to explain. But in essence, a digital badge is a graphic symbol that acts like an online certificate. So it is, it's a badge that you would receive very similarly to receiving a badge in the former, more concrete spheres, like the Girl Scout badge or the 4-H badges or those kinds of badges. But this is in a digital format, so you would receive them in an email, and then you would be able to store them also in an online, there's an online storage capacity called a digital backpack. So it's like a digital library. You earn a digital badge by completing courses, training modules, workshops, and so this is where the micro-credential part comes in, so that you don't necessarily have to complete the entire certificate of something or the entire degree, that some places are starting to package off different courses or different workshops, or even conferences are now issuing badges. Right now, they're being issued by learning organizations and other institutions across North America and Canada, and I'm happy to say that Dakota Literacy Solutions is one of the first places in British Columbia that are issuing, have created badges that are being issued and received by our learners. They give the opportunity to show the world your skills and knowledge, and I'm going to show you how that takes place. When you look at digital badges, again, this is another piece that I clipped from our infographic, but it shows you how digital badges measure up against paper credentials. Digital badges, they're easy to store. So you collect them all in your digital backpack, and it doesn't matter where you get them from, what issuing organization, the platforms, the metrics behind it or the coding behind it is all the same, so that you will be able to upload them into the same backpack. As such, you have this opportunity to show all your skills all at once, because what you're able to do in your backpack is you're able to make collections of the different badges from the different topics, the different themes. So you can put these different collections and then you can share them with people, so they can be shared with anyone at any time. You share them on different platforms, on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. You can share them in online resumes. You can get a URL and put them in a paper resume that is, again, you need to see it on a screen to be able to get to the link. The digital badges are very unique to you, that it actually shows your name, your email is identified with that particular badge. And on top of everything else, it also shows your technology skills. So even if you're getting a digital badge in photography or in reading or writing or some other thing, the very fact that you're using the digital badge platform to gather them, to make your collection, and to share them shows that you have a certain level of technology skills. Do we have any questions yet?
We just had one comment that came in.
Okay.
Someone saying that not all digital badges are online certificates that can be shared. An example would be the Khan Academy badges. They don't work outside the academy. So they're suggesting that, and maybe you'll talk about this, Diana, the difference between digital and open badges.
Oh, right. You're absolutely right. Yes. So thank you very much for that clarification. So open badges are, and maybe I have to get that language in there, that there are digital badges. So there are more closed environments. Like we just found out that the city of Richmond is looking at doing these professional development badges. And so that's sort of like a closed environment. It works in that environment for those people. So I can't get one of their badges. Right. So even though I might like the topic, I might be interested in the topic, I probably wouldn't even be able to find out about it. But so yeah, so that still is that kind of way of having that information and having that credential stored in a digital format. But an open badge, as this participant clarified, is a place where you could obtain that badge, and then you could receive that badge. So I wonder how our Dakota badges, I don't think our Dakota badges are open badges, because you have to be part of our literacy program, our community literacy program. Our literacy program has to be part of the database which issues it. So it's not just anybody could sort of sign up for these badges and then receive them. But so I'd have to explore that open concept, and I think it's open in the sense that you're able to share them to the same platform, to the same backpack. But I'll look into that. So who asked that question? I'll bet that was Dawn. Thanks, Dawn. You knew it was Dawn. All over. Okay. So Dawn, anytime I'm saying something that isn't correct, you get right in there and help to clarify, because there's no use confusing this wonderful audience that we have. So by the same token, I don't really need to go over about what paper credentials, how they work. We all know how they work. And so we just wanted to show how when you get into a digital format, how it's much easier to gather them, to collect them, and to share them. So on to the next one. When we're looking at digital badges, they have this wonderful thing, and this is why the digital badges are so exciting, that they actually have information inside, information coded inside them. So they're information rich. So when you click on a digital badge that's in your backpack or one that you've received, what you get is, what opens up is the way they expand to show your skills, your experiences, your abilities. And these are written in what we call verification statements. And these verification statements have a particular template that show who is the badge issuer, when the badge was issued, what is the description of the badge, the criteria, and also the evidence for obtaining that badge. So when you think about I think about my Bachelor of Arts degree, what that degree looked like. It has, Diana Twist has been awarded by the Senate of the University of Guelph, and it's got 2 really nice signatures. But it really doesn't tell you any of the specifics. Whereas when you think about a digital badge and it tells you what that criteria is, very specifically the skills and knowledge or abilities that you have expressed, that you've illustrated in order to get that, it gives the person who's at that sort of the receiving end, like a potential employer or another educational institution, a lot more knowledge about what you have accomplished. The technology behind the badges is identical, so it allows you to collect and share from many places. So just to show you very quickly, these are the Dakota literacy solutions. These are our digital badges. And if you go to the Dakota website, this is our homepage, and click on Literacy in BC, that menu opens up and you see the second thing is our digital badges. Why is this not wanting to?
Move it over to the right.
There we go. Maybe over here? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was having a hard time clicking. So if you click on digital badges, you get to this first landing page, and this is a quick little video clip, a YouTube clip that is from the Chicago School of Art, and it gives this wonderful overview about what digital badges are. It's about 3.5 minutes. As you scroll down that page, you see there's two kinds of badges that Dakota Literacy Solutions issues. One is credentials and badges for learners, and another one is for our practitioners, because we felt that if we were issuing badges to our practitioners, we could get them excited about the concept of badges, and they would transfer that enthusiasm to their learners. So here are some of the badges for our learners. We have a series of badges that are based on our community adult literacy benchmarks. This paragraph gives you a description about that. There's 6 domains in the benchmarks, and there's 4 levels. So we have, there's the 6 domains of the benchmarks that we have, and there's the 4 levels. So you see, as you get badges, you get more stars. We also have some other, if you look down the bottom here, there's other learner badges, and I wonder, no, I'm not going to be talking, there's a slide later on to talk about what those badges are. So if you click on the reading badge, you'll see that, you see these four badges, but when you click on a badge, what will open up is a PDF that shows you the language that we have used, that we've created, to show you what a verification statement looks like. Now, in a true digital badge, the format is a little bit different, but this gives you what's, sort of the guts of a digital badge. So it shows that, like, what does reading level 4 mean to the average person? Doesn't mean a lot of things unless you're really familiar with our benchmarking system. But if you're an employer, or if you are, someone at an institution of higher learning or some other educational institution, wanting to know that if someone has the reading level necessary to be able to accomplish the tasks, this criteria would help them to sort of understand those parameters. Here are the other learner badges that we have. We have a health and safety badge, a family literacy. The iPals is immigrant parents as literacy supporters. And then we have 2 other badges that we worked in collaboration with community programs to develop. And one is being able to do an online job search, and the other one, Money Smart, is a financial literacy. And so these are badges that could be issued from literacy programs right across the province. And if you want to know what the specific learning outcomes for the job search badge or the Money Smart badge, you just click on that section right down there, and it shows you what the learning outcomes are. The first 3, the health and safety, family literacy, and iPals, have particular programs that are attached to that our community programs have access to. Any other questions? We're good?
Yeah, no other questions.
Okay. So when a badge is issued from our adult literacy database, the participant would receive this email, webmaster@edudata You've been awarded a new badge by Dakota. So I see that I've been given this health and safety badge, that this is what I have done to receive this, and I can click, I can just have a look at the badge, or I can claim it or download it, and I click on that link. When I click on that link, it takes me to this page that shows me all the other badges I have from Dakota Literacy Solutions. This is not my backpack, but this is my collection of badges from this particular source. And then I can go to the side there and I can send it to my backpack. When I send it to my backpack, this screen opens up. So if you don't yet have a backpack, you can obtain one. It's very easy to get or very straightforward to get a backpack. All you need is an email and a password. You don't have to give them permission to use your contact lists or to use your photographs or any other things. When you normally download apps, you have to sign off on a variety of things. Email and password. However, you have to make sure that the email you're using for your backpack is the same email you're using when you get a digital badge. Because if you're using a different email from another source, and many of us have more than one email, it's not going to go in that backpack. So when I go into my backpack, it asks me if I want to accept that badge. So you might not want. I don't know why you'd ever want to say no unless someone is sending you a horrid badge, but I don't know that that's happening yet. But anyway, you accept the badge and then it goes into your backpack. Inside, so this is what the inside of a backpack looks like, or this is the Mozilla open badges. This is what that backpack looked like. There are other backpack platforms that you could choose. This is the one that we are using with EduData. That is what's built into our database. So you can have your badges, but I selected the view of collections. So I wanted to show you what it looks like if you make a collection. So I clicked on here, just like under this new collection, and then I just started dragging and dropping all the badges that were related to digital technology. And then I was able to give it a name. So you can name your collection and you can put into that whatever it is that you want. They still stay here. So you can make just different kinds of collections. You can make a collection for a particular job. You can make a collection for a particular theme, whatever it is. And then you have this little icon here, which is the sharing icon. And when you click on that, you get this option that this is how your page, your portfolio page, will appear to the public. So I could share it on Twitter, Google+, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Or I could just get the URL and embed it in an online resume. Excuse me. So that's what that would look like. But the interesting thing is, as you look at each badge where you toggle for more information, this is what happens. So this opens up and it starts to show some of that encoded information that's inside a digital badge. And then when I click down to criteria and evidence, this is what pops up. So I can see much more specifically what this person is able to do. Like, what does a digital level 4 look like? There it is right there. Manage and share files, contact information, edit and format documents, and so on and so forth. So in terms of, so these are the digital badges that Dakota Literacy Solutions has created and that we're issuing in the community programs that we have. This is a way that we can make it, the learning that is taking place in our informal learning system. So our community literacy programs, you don't get a Dogwood degree, a Dogwood diploma. You don't get a formal certificate after participating in these programs. What happens is that you come into our programs, you identify a learning goal, we work with you to help you accomplish that goal. Then when you've reached your goal, you leave.
you go on to your next thing. You go on to a job or a better job or an educational institution. We wanted to have a way that we could capture that learning so that that could be shared elsewhere. It could be shared in an employment area. It could be shared in an educational area. So we know that there's large applicability in our work, and we've had good feedback from some of our learners who've received badges who normally did not want to do any work in their improving their reading, writing, or math, because like, think about that, it's kind of dull. They started, so we have one learner in particular got a badge from doing the health and safety curriculum. So she did that because she was talked into it. They said that that would be really good for employability. So she went through the course, did the health and safety program, and was issued a digital badge. And she was so excited about getting that badge. She said, I want to get more badges. What else have you got? So they started showing the other badges and landed on the writing badge. And then right from there, so the instructor knew, okay, she did this health and safety curriculum. She is definitely at a level 2, level 3 in reading and writing. You have to be. It's sort of inherent in the program. So she got out the checklist for the writing level 1, and working with the learner sort of went through the checklist that, can you do this? You can do that. Can you do this? And was able to issue her the level 1 writing badge right there. So that student was, we got her. She's caught. So now she wants to go through and do the writing level 2 and then start to do the work in order to get the next levels. The point that she made that I thought was so telling was that I've always wanted to work on my reading and writing, but it was just too big. It just seemed so daunting. I just didn't know where to start. This sort of puts it into these manageable pieces. And I know that this math isn't exactly correct, but she says, if I've got level 1 out of 4 possible levels, I'm 1/4 of the way there. She's not exactly, but don't tell her that. But when you're thinking about levels, because as you get through each level gets a little bit harder. So it's not like the exact same amount of work, but still, it sort of takes something that is absolutely huge and starts breaking it into manageable portions. So that's where the micro-credentials start to really support people in their learning. People who aren't signing up for four-year learning, like you do with a degree or a dogwood, but are signing up to do something in the next 3 to 6 weeks so that I can do something better in my life. And so that's where I think it would be really good for employability, how we, let's see if we can find ways that we can use micro-credentials or digital badges in your work. Explore like what are some of the options, what are some of the other kinds of things that we could capture around employability that would make someone want to attend the workshops, stick with the workshops, things that would get them to that next level of employment. So I'm opening it up for discussion. What do you think? See, I can do this really fast now. I can just break this down. One of the things I want to check in with everyone is, do you think you have a sense of what digital badges are and how they could possibly be used?
So we have another question coming in. Diana, have you thought about rolled up badge packages, like milestones that can be called something like work ready, literacy, health and safety, etc.?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes, we have. And this came in, we're actually sort of almost going in the reverse. But we were thinking of, when they get a certain number of badges, would they get a super badge, But we're also looking at, when we were first examining all the aspects of our Money Smart badge, when we're looking at that financial literacy, because it's a financial literacy badge. There's I don't know how many modules there are in it, but there's a certain package of learning in that. And as we were going through that, making sure that it had rigor, that it could be something that a variety of other programs, these learning outcomes made sense, and a variety of other programs could put together learning packages to meet those learning outcomes, we started thinking that, wow, in order to get this badge, you'd actually have to have a certain level of math and you'd have to have certain level of writing in order to be able to do these exercises that are required to actually be able to express your budget and your goals and those kinds of things. And you'd have to have a certain reading level. So we were thinking that, wow, if we issued someone a Money Smart badge, we could probably also issue them, up to level 2 in reading, 2 in writing, and 2 in math. So we started thinking about, what's inside of those badges in terms of looking at the learner credential framework, those essential skills. Little complicated at this point. It's a good thing to sort of, I think you should always think about where you want to go in the future, so you're setting the groundwork that would lend itself to that. But at this point, we just got to get people talking about badges, talking about them, thinking about them, seeing what the motivation is, what the impact of these badges are, and then those are things that we can tweak right now, rather than getting into, blending them all up and super badging and all that before we sort of get everyone motivated about it. But it definitely is something down the road.
Great, thanks, Diana. Another question, would it be possible to put several digital badges together to form a cluster that is for a completed program? So it's kind of a similar question.
Yeah.
Something that it sounds like you're looking at possibly even down the road, but...
So what our project was initially called the Learner Credential and Digital Badges, or MicroCredentials and Digital Badges. But the Learner Credential was a piece of it because we wanted to be able to say, okay, if you go to the school district programs, you get the adult dogwood. If you go to, post-secondary institutions to do your upgrading, you get a different kind of certification that becomes this gateway for other kinds of learning and potentially for employability. What do we have in our community-based programs? So we wanted to create a learner credential. But a really beautiful part of our community programs is that people come with their unique learning goals. Like, not everyone wants to do work in all 6 domains. And so we're not going to start shape-shifting the beauty of the community programs just so we can create this kind of learner credential. So we thought, well, what would the learner credential look like? 3, badges in 3 out of the 6 domains, or 4 out of the 6 domains, or just a number of badges? Like, we really don't know. But again, that is something down the road. Once we have enough people with that experience, and once there is a little bit of currency around these badges, I think then is the time to have those conversations. Because right now we have issued in the last 2.5 years 480 badges. And I haven't checked last week, and I've done 3 presentations, so I'm sure that number is up. Because we've been doing presentations with these community programs. So I'm sure the number is up. But as we start getting, people getting them, then there might be the time where people say, hey, I've got X number of badges. And so we could talk about what that larger credential would possibly look like.
Excellent. So I guess on the topic of uptake, out of those different communities that with practitioners issuing badges, have you noticed anything so far in terms of like key kind of factors or ingredients for why there might be more uptake around issuing badges? Is it kind of maybe certain practitioners just really get on board and are kind of early adopters of this new technology and this new idea?
Well, in 2 ways. It was about 4 years ago, we introduced the Adult Literacy Database, this tool, this program management tool for programs to store information about their programs. And so the early adopters there, they got onto the database so they could, keep really secure records about their learners, about their tutors, contact information, keep records of their assessments, their intake assessment, and their exit assessment. And so we had that group there. When we linked the digital badges into that, so right from intake and exit, we can now issue badges. That group, their learning curve is like, hit this button and you're issuing badges. Whereas there we have a group of people who are very interested in badges. Oh, I can't wait. Oh, my students are really excited about. They have to learn how to use the database. They have to get into that. So that's a good thing because that's their motivation. We couldn't motivate them to use the database before. The badges is now their motivation to use this tool, which is great. So we have this group that's coming on that are using it, and now we have this. So part of it is the amount of time they have, but there definitely are groups that have a demographic that's motivated by this. And so they are hearing about the badges, they want the badges. So in some instances, this poor literacy practitioner is getting up to speed on it because it's their learners want it. In some instances, it's the practitioner is trying to inspire the learners, and then in some cases it's falling flat, or they're just not, they don't care. I don't care if I get a badge. What am I going to do with it, kind of thing. And then we've got places where it's that happy medium. The practitioner is up to speed and the students are like right on the mark.
Okay. Talking about practitioners, moving now to a question about employers and funders and what they think about this movement so far.
The project itself, the whole idea for the project came from a desire from employers. And this came from a series of comments that employers made at our workplace forum back in March of 2012, that when we were talking about workplace learning and, the skills and knowledge gap and what employability is going to look like and the jobs and skills that people are bringing to the, variety of jobs that are going to be opening down the road, several of the employers said, we need better information about what is in people's resumes. When people tell us that they have a diploma, that they have they have their dogwood, what does that mean? And also several of them said, I'm really surprised, I make the assumption that if someone has the dogwood that they have at least a functional level of math and reading, and that's not always the case. So I need more and better information. So that's when we thought, well, we have our benchmarks. Our benchmarks are really show the different levels. And then we learned about this thing called MicroCredentials and digital badges and thought, wow, this could really do the trick. So we're right at the stage now where we're starting to work with employers. We're starting to get, our big thing is, what are employers' practices, hiring practices? So when they start seeing these resumes with these digital badges in them, are they just an annoyance? Or are they something that, oh, wow, this is really neat, and they zero in on that? So that is actually one of our fourth milestone in our project that we're just touching on now.
Okay.
So we have the practitioners issuing the badges, we have the students getting the badges, uploading them to their backpack, getting excited about them and wanting to get more badges. So all that stuff is happening. Now it's, okay, you got these badges, you got this fancy backpack, what's next? And how is it being used and how is it being received? We're building this plane while we're flying it. Oh, I'm serious.
I think it's interesting because I've seen another presentation of yours, Diane, and use that phrase, and I'm starting to use it in some of the products that the center, where we have similar kind of experience, where you're testing it out, you're trying to work through some of those final things that you need to work out before it's a complete product, and it's a constant evolution as you're working on this. And it's really relatively new when you talk about, it was only 5 years ago that you had this forum, and now I think it's a really exciting stage where you're getting to start to receive more feedback from employers, and like that really that next step is like, are you seeing any indications about whether or not this is actually making a difference in employers noticing these badges on their resumes and making hiring choices around those stuff?
And I think we have to, like, as I start to strategize around how that's going to happen, because I've been kind of just working at getting these badges, getting the infrastructure all in place so that the badges can be issued, seamlessly issued, and things aren't going wrong where you're clicking on it and you get a different verification statement. Like, you would not believe the testing that we've had to do to make sure that all that stuff, like, it looks so easy now, but it really wasn't at the beginning. And now what I think we need to do is I think we need to just focus on a particular employer, like a hotel chain, and work with this employer with their entry level, someone who sees a lot of, a lot of movement in employability, people coming in, people leaving, they have entry level positions, so that they're constantly at the hiring mode. Start working with a particular sector like that, and how they would make sense of the digital badges, and then kind of scaling out from there. Because as we're sort of thinking about, we've got these learners all across the province approaching employers in all kinds of different places. It's just too hard to keep track of what are the things that we need to tinker with to make it better. So I think that's our next project, is to just, do a couple of focused, almost like pilots with particular sectors, and then move to another sector and that kind of a thing.
So for practitioners out there, and if they see these badges, which are, as you mentioned, currently being issued, these are real badges that folks can put on their resume, if they're part of the Dakota community, one of the Dakota community programs in their community. What would you suggest they say to their client? I mean, obviously they can go to the Dakota website and refer and find where if they're not aware already of where the local community person is in their town or their community, and I'm guessing make a referral to a literacy program that Dakota does, and then mention, there is this possibility of obtaining badges, and you can speak, further with the Dakota folks to learn more about how that can happen.
Well, one of the things we're looking at is we're working with a woman in WCG, and they really like our health and safety badge. Like, they really like that health and safety curriculum, and they've actually delivered it a number of times with groups. And so what we've done is we've issued a paper certificate that they give out to their participants, because we don't have a mechanism yet where we can easily put that group of learners into our database. Because they have to be, and so there's motivation to put them in our database if we're getting funding for them, if we're doing a variety of other things with them. But so we're trying to figure out an easy way where we can just upload information just so that we can issue a badge in that particular area, because then that Dakota badge could be used in other places. And also the Money Smart badge. I could see other groups and organizations who aren't necessarily part of a literacy program, but have other sort of goals and priorities, but they would really like their people to be trained to have, good personal financial knowledge and financial management, might want to do that. So that's the other, like, you don't know what you don't know until you get into it. And then you start on something and you think, okay, here's my plan. And then you've got these people, oh, can you do this? And can you do that? And what about this piece? And those are all great. And you really want to engage people, because that will help to establish the currency and the conversation about badges and get people talking and thinking about it. But we kind of have to stay the course right now. Let's just make sure that this ship sails right now, okay? So that's where we're at.
All really exciting stuff. I don't see any more questions that have come in yet, so we still have a bit of time, so I'll maybe let folks know that you have another minute or so to type in your question.
So if anyone, and if you think of something later on, and you wonder about something, just go to our website, thedakota.ca, and you can find my email, which is dtwist@dakota.ca, and ask me the question. I'm happy to hear your vantage point, and all the questions that come in are really helpful because it helps me to find ways to try to explain it a little bit better.
Excellent. Okay. Well, thank you, Diana.
Oh, there's our new revised digital badge. So we've had to.
Is that the same logo that you showed on one of the first slides?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Looks good.
Thank you.
All right. Well, again, I want to thank Diana for today's presentation, and of course, thanks to all of you out there for attending. A reminder that the session was recorded, and we will post the video of the presentation on our website and send you all the link in an email within the next week. As always, we welcome your input and feedback, and when you leave the webinar, you will be asked to complete a short survey. We would appreciate it if you took a minute or two to share your thoughts, as it will help us immensely in planning future events. We would also appreciate any suggestions you have for future webinar topics. Speaking of, the Center's next webinar takes place in just a couple of weeks from now on April 25th. We will be joined by Marissa Perry of Youth Employment Services to tell us about their new employment support resource, Empowering the Employment Sector to Better Serve Youth with Mental Health Issues. For more information and to register, go to the Center's website or see the link in the follow-up email to today's webinar. So that ends our event today. On behalf of our presenters and my colleague Kevin and other colleagues here at the Center, thanks for participating in today's discussion and have a great afternoon.